Hello everyone, today I am looking at Call of Duty Ghosts. This was a really interesting game to me, simply because it was surprisingly good in its single player campaign. It was a weird moment where we kind of had Modern Warfare 2, World at War, and then Black Ops. And then once we hit Black Ops 2, I felt like, I don't know, all the guns kind of felt the same. The main story really was kind of off the rails into the whole future aesthetic, which is kind of what I wanted and what I was looking for. But it just didn't feel... I don't know. It felt kind of too much, too off the rails, and just not really as interesting, as impactful as those initial missions were in the original Call of Duties, even in the single player and multiplayer. And they added this whole kind of, in this game they added a whole Nazi zombies thing, but it was against aliens or something, which again was like okay. Even the multiplayer in this game is, again, it feels okay. It's not, the greatest and the best. I don't know. I just can't get into it. There's something that was just kind of lost. And when there's so many different multiplayer shooters to play, you really need to have a high degree of tolerance and taste for what you are put your time into. Again, I played the single player, and I think the single player campaign in this game is definitely one of the best Call of Duties. In fact, I found it to be very interesting and to be a future-based kind of scenario, essentially where there's been a series of some kind of big war, and South America has formed this thing called the Federation and has taken over the United States. And the United States is kind of this war zone, basically, and this semi-apocalyptic setting, which already is like really interesting. If you told me that was a Call of Duty campaign, I'd like, no, it sounds more like Fallout or something. So they did something really interesting with this game. And the ghosts are these supreme legion of guys who thought they were wiped out, but they're still around, and that's why they call them ghosts. And like they wear the scary ghost mask, and that's all so amazing, and whatever, and edgy. And of course, the other thing this game is known for is Riley the attack dog. They spent like a whole thing at E3 talking about how their dog was like real scans from a SEAL Team 6 dog and all this stuff. And they're just really trying to sell the game with the dog. And it's so silly. But the dog, there is a component where you do control the dog. You have it go after, people on stealth missions, or you have it, get, weapons for you or things like that. But it's really not a huge component of the game, which they kind of lead you to believe. I'm just shocked by how I started this campaign and the pacing, the story, everything feels so interesting and so well done. And it's just shocking how I never knew anything about this. Like, all I heard was the dog, and that really is not like the main draw of this campaign, which again is very cool. It opens up with this whole space sequence as well, and you have a space sequence at the end of the game, and it's just very, very cool. Another thing that this game really surprised me with is there's this one campaign mission where you essentially are driving a tank, and like Call of Duty has never been known for its vehicles. Yeah, you have a snowmobile section, but it's on rails, you're going straight. But there's this one section where you're driving a tank, and it is fun. It feels almost better than Battlefield, and I was really shocked to see that included as like just a throwaway thing in one of these levels. And you're basically going around taking out this hyper advanced, station, or this complex or this thing, and you have all these gizmos and the high-tech stuff showing up on the screen. Like, it's very iconic, it's very cool, and I almost thought I was playing Battlefield for a second, because it was made very well. The last time they had tanks in a Call of Duty game was, I think, World at War, and they completely scrapped that in Black Ops because that's really not their forte, and it's very hard to do vehicle sections. Gears of War, I think, can attest to that. But I don't know. I just find it very strange that was done so well. And again, I have not heard a lot about this game. The guns themselves, they all have enough variety, from machine guns to assault rifles and so on. Reloading feels good, shooting feels good, as Call of Duty has been able to prove for many, many years. That really hasn't changed, except again in multiplayer. There's something just weird. It feels tinny. I don't know. It's the tone and whatever of the game. It feels I don't know. I didn't really enjoy playing it. I don't know why. It's weird. I mean, I think this was kind of the area where they were throwing achievements in your face all the time, so new players weren't discouraged. So like, even if you got killed 5 times in a row and at least wounded the enemy, you got like a medal for that, and a medal for this, and a medal for breathing. It was just kind of a little bit too much. It reminds me of what Halo started doing, where it gave you a different medal if you like shot someone, like, you know, 1 shot 1 kill, which could be a whole series of different kinds of snipers and weapons, which is just ridiculous. Why would you even give a medal for that? Anyway, but yeah, you go through the main campaign, you know, different kind of settings around this, you know, fictional United States. The music is good, the presentation is good, the characters are decently interesting. There's this whole thing with his dad, which is a side story, and you know, he kind of goes out of line and puts them all at risk, and he says, "Oh, you got to reel yourself in," and all this stuff. And they're just trying to survive and rebuild the United States. It's a very interesting, like, cool story, and I was really not expecting that. And the only reason I played it is because it's on Game Pass. And the thing is, Call of Duty, they just started like pushing out all of these all these Call of Duties, all these games almost year on year, and to the point where people kind of got, you know, flushed out. There was no real big creative design. There was no real creative, you know, driving force that said, this is going to be the Call of Duty. This is going to be the big one. They tried to make everyone the big one. And when they did that, they didn't really please anyone. And they all turned out to be kind of generic and kind of just all okay, more or less. There's this really cool mission that takes place on this train, this high-speed train. You know, everything about this game just kind of feels right. It feels cool. It feels that old school Call of Duty kind of, you know, technology warfare and, you know, modern war. And I really enjoy it. I'm really interested to see what Infinity War and all those other series kind of did. You know, I know they're kind of going through a whole remake thing right now where they're doing all the Modern Warfares all over again, even 3, which has been this abysmal disaster where the campaign is like 3 hours and like the main Captain Price dies in the most anticlimactic way. And yeah, I don't know where Call of Duty is going from here, but this feels like, I don't know, like the 4th installment in a series. It's not amazing, it's not groundbreaking, but it's still like the tail end of that original creative juice and idea that created this series. I don't know why I'm thinking of Silent Hill 4, but that's what it kind of makes me think of, or Gears of War 4 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, Call of Duty, it's in a weird spot right now where it's kind of the top dog, but now everyone's just kind of competing for, you know, revenue and market share rather than making the best game. So now they're looking at making their game super profitable rather than good. Anyway, guys, I don't know much else to say about this game. It's that the campaign was actually really impressive. It was actually a lot of fun. That tank mission is really standing out of my head. And yeah, I would actually recommend this one. Go and give it a shot. Anyway, that's it. See you later, guys.